at that point, you're not there to play it safe. Like if you're not taking risks, you're not competing.
It's empowering. I mean, anybody who's done a CrossFit workout, you finish your CrossFit workout and you're like, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
Like a hunger for competition and like that super intense structure, routine. I still had that desire.
Listen to the way people feel and the motivations for doing the things that they did. It was like they were describing me to a T.
I'm not trying to solve everything for you, but I know that sometimes you just need somebody to listen.
Learned the most is how to fill my cup by filling others.
Welcome to the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. Join me as I talk with passionate people about their life's failures and successes, and most importantly, what keeps them hungry for more. What's up, dogs? Welcome back to the Hungry Dog Barbell Podcast. This week, I'm joined by Stephanie Switek, aka Steph McConnell, owner of CrossFit Reconstructed, Vault Group nutrition coach, and also competitive masters athlete. Steph chats with me to tell her story of her long-time struggle with substance abuse, the countless setbacks and feelings of rock bottom that she felt, and eventually overcoming to just make the next right choice every single day. Steph was able to overcome her drug abuse by a network of people that never gave up on her and her sheer will of resilience. Tune in to hear her story, and I hope you enjoy it.
As an affiliate owner and coach, I loved it. I thought it was great for the community. It was super easy to run. It was super easy to execute. It was minimal equipment. It didn't require 6 pages of standards that you had to explain. Like last year, we had to make videos because they were a little bit complicated. And it was just so much easier to judge, to run. It was just so much more fun. I think we had a little bit more participation. We usually have a lot of people. We have like 60% of our gym do it. So that was pretty steady, if not a little bit more, because I think people saw the workouts and they're like, oh, I can use a dumbbell. I can do burpees.
Regular workout, yeah.
Yeah. So that was really cool. I like that. And like I said, it didn't require taping or like rearranging the entire gym for the most part. So I really liked it. And just, it's always such a good time with the community to see everybody and what they can do and what they never thought they were capable of. So loved it. 3 weeks was great. And just getting it done in 3 weeks and moving on. So, and then quarterfinals, I liked. I was a little bit hesitant about the increase. Not a huge fan of that, but it did give a lot of people, like seeing people that never ever in a million years thought they would qualify for quarterfinals, and just seeing like how that made them feel as an athlete was pretty cool. I mean, they're like, man, I never dreamed that I would do this. And they made the cut line, and that just made them feel really good about themselves. So it was good to see that as a coach.
Yeah.
But as an athlete, I mean, I still strive for the top 10%. So it didn't really affect me one way or the other as far as the 25%, except that there was more people competing.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I totally hear that. Like when it first came out, I was like, it's kind of weird to just let more people in the exclusive club, I mean, I don't want to be super douchey in saying that, but like it's kind of what it's supposed to be, right? Like you earn the right to move on.
Yeah.
But then I don't think I'll ever forget the first time one of our members who is super fit at the gym, like crushes workouts. Her life is about like health and wellness and everything, but she just doesn't put any extra hours into it. I'll never forget, like when we told her after the first workout that she was at 74th, and if she tried the next 2 weeks, she would make quarterfinals, and like you see it in her eyes and you hear it in her response that she was excited by that. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure, that was cool. I was a little nervous about we had 22 people, I think, qualify. I'm like, guess we're gonna have to do this in class without knowing. Like, we have a very small gym, so without knowing, like, what are they gonna do? Do we have floor plans? Last year was a pretty big headache for setting up floor plans, and there were so many pages of rules and standards, and just going through like all that with all those people that have never done quarterfinals before and videoing. I was like, this is going to be a lot of work, and I'm trying to compete, So I did I did a workshop beforehand before they announced that they weren't doing floor plans with everyone. And it was really cool. We got to like do a mock quarterfinals workout and showed everyone like, this is how you set up a camera. This is how you read the directions. This is how you tape it. And a lot of people were
that's
just
really
like,
cool.
not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I'm like, all right, you don't have to do that,
Yeah.
So it kind of helped them decide if that's something they wanted to do or not. And then I think, once the workouts came out, a lot of people were just like, not really going to go much further. But it was cool that they had the opportunity to. So.
Yeah, and you set them up for success by having that workshop beforehand. That's really cool. Like I don't think I've ever heard that before from like affiliate owner whose people don't go to the games, and that's like that can alleviate so many headaches to set people up for success in that way. That's really cool.
Yeah, I was trying to prep everyone as much as possible. Selfishly, I wanted to get it all out of the way so I could just focus on myself that weekend as much as possible while still, helping them as much as I could. And then if like they could do one freaking thing different, it's like if you're going to include that many people, don't put rope climbs in because like we don't have 15-foot ropes. So it's like we got to herd all these people to another gym. It was that was a nightmare. I was like, this is so annoying. Can you please not do that next year?
We had a bunch of people from other gyms doing that last year also for the quarterfinals.
And it's fine if you only have a couple people, but if you got like 20 people, it's rough.
I know people that are sending boatloads, when you get up to 25%, it's crazy. And we're talking about like the floor plans, man, that workout 2023, that was a repeat from years past where you had to have the rower, the barbell, and the rings. That was a nightmare. Like it was a nightmare to run anything more than like 6 in a heat because of how our gym was set up, and I'm sure so many people experience that.
Yeah, for sure.
So now you've been talking about it a little bit, but tell me more about you as an athlete in the quarterfinals and the open. Like for the open first, how'd you feel about the test?
I mean, the open every year for me, I don't really, I try, don't get me wrong. Like, but that's just kind of like, I don't give like 110% effort, I would say.
Right.
I'm running Friday Night Lights, making sure everybody's having a good time. So I like do my thing earlier in the day, just get it out of the way and kind of move on. So, I mean, it's kind of nice that the events are, I don't want to say they're not easy in any way, but they're not that like high skill, right? So I can just go in and do the burpees and the snatches and just, just grind it out. So as far as the workouts, it's nice that they're like that because it's much less stressful for me and I can just do it and move on to to the Friday Night Lights and do all that stuff with the community. So, and then, so quarterfinals, I placed 205. So I was 5 spots away from semifinals this year.
Man.
Yeah. So little fire under my ass for not that I didn't have one, but I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like 5 spots. My coach and I were breaking it down and it was like painfully aware of like a couple reps here, a couple reps there in a workout.
Yeah.
And it would have been different. So
hold on, before you keep going, what's like your jam? What's like your, like, you see this workout come up and you're like, I'm going to fucking demolish this.
Like a barbell and a sprint, like anything like 3 rounds per time, give me a barbell and a dumbbell or some toes bar or something like that. Anything really fast. And everything was really long and short sprints, heavy barbell. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Got a little bit of that dog mentality. Like, yo, just let me loose.
Yes, for sure.
I love that. So then what did you do for quarterfinals? Like, did you do the same? I'm going to do it earlier in the day and then let the group go at night so I can run that, or was it a little bit different?
No, it was more, so we set it up once we knew how many people were doing it. I was kind of able to adjust my plan and be like, all right, I can, actually me and Maddie pretty much, we did everything together that weekend. So most of the athletes were able to do it either during class or because we did run it for classes. So everyone had the opportunity to do it. if
That's
they
awesome.
couldn't come for open gym. And then some people did it for open gym. But there was just like so much time they could do it. We had 6 days to do it. So it was like, I was able to do almost all of them twice. That's how much time I had. So yeah, I just did them when it made sense for me.
That's great. Like you just said that, like there was so much time. There was fewer workouts this year, right? Than in years
Yeah, it was
past.
4 workouts, 6 days.
And there was a little bit of submission. The submission windows were a little bit different. I remember telling that same girl I was talking about earlier, she's a school teacher, and I'm like, hey, you qualify for quarterfinals. You might have to like get a half day in there somewhere if you want to complete all these workouts and like not absolutely destroy yourself. Because a lot of people had to do that in years past.
Yeah.
What do I know? This
Not
comes
this
up
year,
4
right?
workouts, 6 days, go have
Yeah.
a life. I'm like, all right, CrossFit completely changed it up on all of
Yeah.
us,
Yeah. And that's what I was telling everyone too. I'm like, you might have to like adjust your schedule. And then they're like, okay, you got plenty of time to do this. It's only 4 workouts. Like everyone can do this. No problem.
Yeah. It seemed like in years past they were, I don't know if pushing is the right word, but making it so that people that wanted to even compete at the quarterfinals, I mean, top 10% does kind of make sense. But people that want to compete at quarterfinals had to be at least a semi-pro athlete. You had to be able to dedicate time specifically. And then this year they went hard 180. Like, all right, we want
I wanted to go back. I don't want to I don't want to like redo and redo. I don't want to have like when I go into competition, I'm like, I'm doing this once, and then sometimes you have to redo it, but I'm not a fan of redos. I usually don't do better because I'm going all in the first time. Like I don't want to redo it. I have no intentions of redoing it. And then this was like, okay, prepare yourself. You have so much time, you're going to have to redo them.
There's probably one of those. It's like, all right, you're definitely going to redo it because you're going to be sitting on your hands for so long. So we know how you feel about redos. What do you say if an athlete comes to you and they're like, I want to redo this, and they don't have a plan? Like they're just like, I just want to redo it.
I want to know why. I'm like, why do you want to do it? So if it's like an ego thing, like, don't redo it. If I'm trying to beat someone, don't redo it. Did you give your best effort? Yes. Did you follow your plan? Did you execute to that plan? Then don't redo it. There's no need to redo it. If you feel like you left something on the table, you didn't sleep well, something went really wrong, you did not follow the plan. Like, we all go into those workouts with a plan. Like, I'm going to break this up 5, 5, 5. And then you go unbroken and you're like, oh, fuck, I should have stuck to my plan. Then go redo it.
That's me every single workout, like regular workouts.
And that's okay, right? Because it's training, but competition, it matters a lot more. You're like, I got to stick to this plan. And it's like, knowing your weaknesses and knowing where you're going to falter is important. Having that athlete IQ to go into that workout with that plan. If you just like go in without a plan and it falls apart, then learn from that experience and redo it. Don't just go in just for the sake of redoing it.
Right. Take everything as a learning experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Like when you're doing it, like obviously put your full effort into doing the workout, but then take some time right afterwards and try to review. Be like, okay, should I think about all the things you just talked about, right? Like we don't have to relist them again, but think about all those things that you exactly just talked about. And if it's like, if you have enough boxes that you feel like, okay, I'm not happy with this. I didn't sleep well last night. I had this stressor that I can now eliminate, and tomorrow it'll be gone. I can come back refreshed, then redo it,
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But you're obviously competitive. Do you like have any experiences that you noticed that for the first time? Like whether it was when you were young, you noticed it later in life, like when did you develop this competitive spirit?
Oh, I think I've always had it. I have 2 younger brothers, and I think it just came from like hanging out with them and just that natural competitiveness. And I played sports up until high school, and I loved it. Just loved winning, loved competing. It was games. I was a sore loser with my brothers. Like I'd just punch them we used to play, I think it was Nintendo at the time. And if my brother beat me, I would just beat the shit out of him, just like punch him. So I grew up in Maine, actually. I played like the usual, I think like t-ball, soccer, and then basketball throughout like middle school, and then played soccer until my junior year in high school. I moved from Maine to West Virginia when I was 15, went to college in West Virginia, left my junior year, and that all has to do with stuff I'm sure we'll probably talk about later. And then moved back to Maine for a while, moved to Maryland, and now I'm here.
So let's dive into like what we were just talking about before, really the bulk of the conversation in the episode here. What was your first experience? What was the first thing that you ever got high on? You don't have to tell us what it was, but where were you and kind of what were the circumstances that led to that?
So I started drinking when I was like 12. I think it was 7th or 8th grade. I would take, I'd sneak vodka from my parents' liquor cabinet. And it's funny. I was just talking to my parents about this recently. Cause I was trying to, I'm sure we'll talk about this too, but I was trying to convince them like it wasn't their fault. They couldn't have done anything differently. And we were talking about how that's how I first started. And, so I would
What gave you that idea to do that?
I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you. That's what they were asking me. I'm like, I have no idea because it was there. And I'm like, my point is like, that's who I am. It's not because I had a bad childhood. I had a great childhood. My parents did everything they possibly could for me. They gave me unconditional love. They were the best parents I could ever ask for. I didn't have there was like nothing wrong with my childhood. And I like to say I was just a bad kid. Like I not a bad person, but I like to misbehave and I like to do things I wasn't supposed to do. Like if it was a rule, I like to go, break the rule and just cause trouble, I guess. So I would take the vodka, put it in like a cup and put some orange juice in it and go to school and just drink it. I don't even know if I got drunk. I just drink it and I'd be like, hey, I got some vodka in here. Like I'm cool. And then I started smoking cigarettes, I think, in 8th grade, and then smoked weed in 8th grade. So that was the first time. Got caught because we wrote a note, passed it in the hallway, and someone dropped. We're so stupid. Like someone dropped it. They found it. I got in so much trouble. Got kicked off the basketball team.
Was the note like meet us here to smoke a joint, something like that?
It was like what we had already done, like talking about smoking weed. I feel like I didn't even care. The only thing I cared about was like the consequences. I'm like, oh, I'm grounded again. And that sucked because back then there was like, all I had was, a radio in my room and a CD player, or maybe it was a tape player. I don't even know, but that was definitely CDs. And like, once that was gone, I'm like, what am I going to do? I have nothing. Like, I can't hang out with my friends. I can't call my friends.
Legit twiddle your thumbs.
Yeah. Or go outside and play in the woods. So,
yeah.
So that's when it first started.
That didn't curve you and like to deter you or anything like that. How does it keep going?
No, not at all. It was so, it just kind of started progressing. So like drinking more. My best friend at the time, she had 2 older brothers. So pretty sure one of them, at least, and his friends could get alcohol. So we were just hanging out with, older people, could get cigarettes, could get alcohol. And, naturally weed came along with that. So it just progressed. And then when I was 15, we moved to West Virginia. So that created this like massive rebellion. I was like, fuck the world, fuck my parents, fuck everything. Because I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay in Maine with my friends and my boyfriend at the time. And I was really happy there. Had everything I wanted there, had my friends. I loved it. And then went to West Virginia and this huge new school, no friends. I was going into my sophomore year. So that I was just really, really angry. like super angry, hated everything, hated the world. I was this victim of, this move. And that just like kind of caused everything to get really bad really fast. And I think I just acted out way more than I would have. I would have continued on the path that I was on for sure if I stayed in Maine, but I think it happened a lot faster because I was so angry. And I just I sought out the people doing bad things and doing drugs, and spent my entire like high school, like when I got my license, I got a DUI 2 weeks after I got my license, got my license taken away, I got my car taken away. And then it was just bad. I was doing acid, mushrooms, like you name it. I'd do anything. Drank tons of drinking, tons of partying, and skipping school, got kicked off the soccer team. I mean, you name it. I was like, I got taken to a runaway shelter because my parents couldn't control me. So they called the cops and charged me with being incorrigible. Cops came and got me while I was on acid. I had just taken a hit of acid, and I'm in the back of a police car. Like, what the fuck is going on? Where am I going?
I was gonna say probably bugging out back there.
It was crazy. Ended up at this runaway shelter. Like, is this real? Like, what? Where am I? What is happening? And that was like, that was my whole high school. Like, just not going to school, my parents trying to control me running away, them finding me, the cops coming to pick me up, just over and over and over again. And I don't even know how I passed high school. My senior year, so basically I got caught skipping school so much that I had to get a paper signed every single class I went to my senior year. So I guess that's how I passed. I couldn't skip school anymore because they just come find me. So I guess that's how I passed. And, they're like, you got to go to college. You have that. That's how it was back then. It's like, at least with my family, they're like, you have to go. So pick somewhere and you're going. And I'm like, all right, I'm getting the fuck out of here. So I just picked the easiest place I could get into. And I went there, and it was about a half an hour away from WVU, which I don't know if you know anything about WVU, but it's like the biggest party school. My boyfriend went there, so that was a nice little party experience too.
I had a friend that went there, and he went there as an addict also. Like, he left from high school already like knee deep into his opioid addiction, and we got kicked out in the first semester. We went to pick him up, like drove through the night, went and picked him up, probably partied out there, then came home. And like looking back, I'm like, damn, dude, how are you just wasting all this money at 18? Like, now I'm looking back and thinking this, but
oh my God, I can't. I feel so bad
we thought it was whatever
for doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually did really well my first year. I calmed down a little bit. I think I was just smoking weed. I wasn't drinking at all. And I ended up getting a partial scholarship because I did so well.
Nice.
And then some shit went down, and like by my third year, I was doing coke and just hanging out with some shady people. And like my best friend's brother got busted for steroids on the baseball team. So he wanted to help him get out of trouble. So they offered to set someone up. So they wore a wire on me, and had me like set up this drug deal. And it was just weed, but that was a lot at the time.
Enough.
And so I got charged with a couple felonies, conspiracy to distribute, delivery of marijuana, all this shit. And I was just there. Like, looking back, I didn't actually sell anything, buy anything, or like I was just there. They were trying to get to someone else, basically. But it was crazy. My parents put their house up to keep me out of jail. All the charges ended up getting dropped because I didn't actually, like, they had no evidence that I did any of that. But I had to leave school. I was like, I can't be here anymore. It was just like,
Yeah, shit.
the cops were like everywhere I went. I couldn't go anywhere without them showing up. Couldn't do anything. I can't get high anymore. I got to get out of here. So that's why I left college.
Shit. Wait, so when that's happening, cops bust in the room, like how do you react? Like when you get arrested and all these things go down.
I was pretty scared, but they were just like, I was just like, you guys are idiots. Like they said, they had this like audio of me or a tape of me saying all this stuff, and I'm like, I've literally never said that. I have no idea. Like at the time, they said I knew every crack dealer in town. I'm like, I didn't smoke crack at the time. So I'm like, you guys are so full of shit. Like, I'm not telling you. I don't know anything. I'm not telling you anything. I don't know who these people are. I was just there. Like,
Yeah.
if you feel like, prove it. Give me some proof. Like, let me hear this supposed tape that you have of me. And
Right.
I don't know, like, how, like, I feel like I should have been more scared, but I was just like, fuck you guys. I didn't do anything wrong. So
You're like,
have
bro, I'm
at
just
it.
smoking weed. Like it's not
Yeah.
it's not that
Yeah.
serious,
I
Like
guess.
they were trying
I
to
don't
pressure
know.
you.
Yeah. I mean, it
Just
could
like they
have
did
been
the
really,
dude.
really bad. Yeah. Could have been bad, but. And then, it kind of sucked because the dude was my really good friend that set me up. That sucked. That was
Yeah.
pretty
I
shitty.
want to ask you about just friends in general. Like, did you have any relationships from like Maine that you had sustained? Like, did you have any other people, like even when you were getting high, out in West Virginia that you would consider close friends at this time period, like while you're like getting further into your addiction?
Yeah, I had my best friend. Like we're still friends to this day. Um, I think it was later in life that she kind of washed her hands of me. We're cool now, but we had some time apart where we didn't talk. But my best friend from like we met in 6th grade, pretty much stayed in touch with her. And I think that was pretty much it. All my other friends were like, I wouldn't say they were great friends. It was like we all just got high together. We were,
Right.
if there was no drugs, we probably weren't going to hang out.
Yeah. Do you up to this point, I know that you had a lot of shit going throughout high school and like even early in college. Did you think that you had a problem at this point? Like up to you getting arrested there?
No, no, it took me a really long time, much, much, much longer.
I hear that.
Um,
Same experience.
so I moved home after that, and that's when it got like crazy, like just lots of partying. Started doing, and I can't even remember the timeline, but the drugs just got harder, and the partying got a lot harder. And one night we were having a party at my parents' house. They were out of town, and we used to have some like crazy parties at my parents' house when they were gone. And my dog got out, and we lived on top of this hill, and I was like panicking. I'm like, oh my God, my dog got out. Like, I got to go get him. So I got my keys, got my car, and everybody's like, no, you don't need to drive. He's going to come back. He's going to come back. I'm like, no, I got to go. So I go down, I run into a telephone pole, total my car. That was a
Damn.
gift from my uncle. It was like a
Wow.
sweet Maxima. Totaled my car. I have no idea why I didn't get arrested, but I didn't. Somehow just got home. And that was like my first, like the next day or, a couple days later, I'm like, or no, it was even later than that. I got a check, like, cause it was full coverage. So I got a check and I got a car. And I was thinking, I got to get out of here. Like, this is dangerous. Like, if I keep doing what I'm doing, it's not going to
Yeah.
end well. So at some point I realized that. And I think that was like the first kind of idea that I had a problem in my mind. But I thought that if I left and got away from what I was doing and the people I was around, then I would be okay.
So did you
So
did you
that's
leave?
Yeah, I left and I moved to Maine actually with my best friend. I moved in, the one I mentioned from 6th grade. So I moved in with her in the town we grew up in, because I always wanted to go back there. I was like, that's where I belong. I belong in Maine. I don't belong here. So I went back, and everything was great there for a while. It was kind of like just moderate. everything. I wasn't going crazy.
So you still got high, but you didn't like go to the depths at first of like, okay, I'm gonna total my car.
Yeah, I think I might have just been drinking. I don't even know if I was getting high. I might have been smoking weed or something. And then it got that Maine is when it got. I had basically stayed in Maine until I got to almost the end. So I got into oxys, and her dad. I had tried them before, but I was like, it was just like someone giving me them, and I didn't really have like access. Or what. Yeah, didn't know where to get them. So her dad actually had a prescription for them. I don't know how I knew this, but I snuck into his stash and I took a bunch and Klonopins, and I must have taken enough for like probably 2 months or something because he had so many. And so so I was doing them every day for probably like 2 months, 3 months, and ran out. And like I thought I was dying. I was like, what is wrong with me? I think I have the flu. I was like talking to my boyfriend or one of my friends at the time, and I'm like, I do not feel good, blah, blah, blah. He's like, it's called withdrawal stuff. You're going through withdrawal. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, whoa. And that was kind of like a wake
really
up.
Experienced that.
Yeah. It was rough. It was awful. And so that was like the beginning of my addiction to those. And then it just got, I mean, I remember like, just things getting so bad and like saying, well, as long as I don't do heroin or as long as I don't smoke crack, as long as I don't shoot up, then I'll be okay. Like I'm not that bad. And every single thing I said, I never shut up. I don't know how, but everything else was like, I did it. So it just kept getting worse and worse and worse to the point where like dealing and like cutting it so bad it's like nothing, because I'm doing most of the drugs,
Right.
and it just became this 24/7 full-time job of like trying to sell, trying to maintain, trying to get more, and losing everything that I had, getting evicted from multiple apartments, losing every job, like getting into shoplifting, and basically became homeless. And I was like living in a hotel night to night, and I had basically nowhere left to go because I had fucked over all my friends.
Every bridge.
Every bridge, yeah. And so basically it was like winter in Maine. I want to say
That does not sound like a fun time.
It was cold, and I was on the street with a sign like, please give me money. That's how bad it was. I was that person. And finally, just like I didn't have a car, I got my license taken away, got my car taken away. I had been in jail several times. There was at one point I was like, man, every time I leave the house, I go to jail. And I had been arrested like 3 or 4 times. I tried to commit suicide and almost succeeded. I took a bunch of, I forget what it was. It was some kind of antipsychotic, like tramadol, I don't know, something like that. So I took like 2,
something like that.
Yeah, that's what it was. I took 2 or 3 bottles of that and just kind of went to sleep. And the last thing I remember was seeing like the tip of my cigarette and then waking up in an ambulance, like with the things on the defibrillator on my chest and smelling salts, like waking me up, and ended up in the hospital, like completely hallucinating. Convinced myself I was invisible and I was getting out of the hospital. I'm like, they can't see me. I'm like, no one, it was crazy. And ended up going into a psych ward. And that was rough. That was like, you would think I wish I could say that was rock bottom, but I mean, it just kept getting worse after that. I got out. And I think the worst part about that was like waking up and my mom coming to visit me and just the look of like just utter just hurt, absolute
Yeah.
hurt. Like my precious daughter just tried to end her life, you know? And I promised her I would never use again. Next day, I'm back at it. Like I meant that promise with everything I had in my whole entire heart. Like, and that's like when the true, like absolute powerlessness just hit me and I wasn't even aware of it. Because like I had no control over what I was doing at the time. It was just like, go get more, go get more, go get more. You have to go get more. And I never thought
that
there was
withdrawal
like,
pain is different.
yeah, yeah. And I didn't think there was any other way. It was like, this is my life till I die. And that's that. And I had no idea there was help. I had no idea there was like a possibility that I could stop.
Yeah, like that you withdrawing this demon that is the sickness manifests inside your brain is telling you all these things. People that have never had to deal with that, like just like you call it, the sickness of addiction, like that is what it is. It's like you made this promise because you don't want to end up in this situation again. I don't want to be waking up with
Hell
a
no.
defibrillator on me.
No.
I don't want my mom to like experience this pain, you know, like
and you don't want to hurt people.
Do not want to. Yeah, you don't want to hurt people anymore. But then you get that second to yourself when you're just thinking and your brain starts telling you, all right, it's time to go back. It's time to go back.
Yeah.
It's time to go back.
It's like there's no other way. It's like autopilot.
Yeah.
And it's just spent years just like living like that. And finally just reached out to my parents I'm like, I don't have enough money to like stay in this hotel anymore. And my only other option is like grab a bench outside. That's where I was at.
Right.
Like I have nowhere left to go. So I called my parents and, made that promise. Like, yeah, if you guys help me and fly me home, I'll get help. Like I promise I'll get help. I had no intention of getting any help. I just didn't know what else to do. But they're like, you have to get help if we do this. I'm like, all right. So that's how I got back to West Virginia. I flew home and I have no idea. I think Suboxone was around at the time, and I'm pretty sure that's how I was able to maintain.
For everyone out there listening, it's like an opioid blocker. It acts like in a similar sense to get you high, but it's just supposed to numb your receptors that feed off the opioid. So it's waiting at clean. I've been there before.
Yeah. So that helped when I wasn't, when I didn't. It was cheaper at the time, and it was like a way to stave off the withdrawal. So if that's all I had, that's what I would take. So I got home to West Virginia, and my parents had set up this meeting with a therapist in a treatment center, and it was a treatment center for males, so I couldn't get in there. So I talked to her, and she was like, okay, so until we can get you in somewhere, I'm like, first of all, like, okay, I'm not going anywhere, but whatever. She's like, yeah, you need inpatient therapy. I'm like, no, I'm good. She's
not about to be sitting around with you guys, hugging and to talk about our
you
past.
Want me to go away to a rehab? I don't think so, but whatever. She's like, there's nothing available right now, so we'll put you on the waiting list. But in the meantime, you need to go to NA meetings. And I'm like, I think I had heard of that before, but I didn't know what it was. So I had to go because I was living with my parents. And so they took me. It was crazy because the first meeting I went to, I walk in and I was like, what is this? Everybody's like sitting around in a circle. So I sit down, like right next to the door, like quick escape. And I didn't want to make eye contact with anyone. I'm just like looking around. And I'm like, oh my God, that's Luke. Like, that's my friend Luke. He was chairing the meeting. And it was like, he was someone that I used to like rage out with, like party hard with. And I was like, whoa, like what is he doing here? Like, and that was pretty cool because that gave me some hope. And in this like oblivion of what am I doing? Why am I here?
Yeah, because at this time you're still thinking, I am not going to beat this.
Yeah,
Oh
I had
shit.
no idea. Like, I was not pretty sure I wasn't clean. Um, and I was just going along with, like, I was just like, one day at a time. Like, what am I going to do tomorrow? Like, how am I going
Yeah.
to figure the situation out to get high tomorrow and get away from my parents? So it was like just surviving, like doing what I had to do to keep a roof over my head until I could figure something else out. And that's what was happening in my mind. Um, so I did start going to meetings. I talked to him and like he would take me to meetings and stuff. So that was cool. And I ended up getting into a rehab eventually. And man, that was rough. It was like the first time in my entire life since like whenever I started that I had been not on drugs and not on anything. And I couldn't take it. It was like an insane experience. It was like, you know, just absolute misery, anxiety, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, just crawling out of my skin, the most uncomfortable feelings. And that's why I stayed high because I didn't want to feel like that. Just like days and
Yeah.
days and days on end of that. I was like, fuck this, I'm out. I have to leave. I can't take this anymore. I mean, I was hallucinating. I was like, so I left and I was in the middle of nowhere in I think it was Parkersburg, West Virginia. And I called, I went to the bus station. I had no money. I called my brothers and they were like, yeah, okay, Steph, we'll call you back. And so they called all their friends because me and my brothers and all their friends, we all hung out. So we all knew each other. We would all party together and stuff. So my brothers called like basically everyone I knew and told them, don't go get Steph. Just like leave her there. So I'm trying to call these people and they're like, nope, sorry, I can't come get you. Nope, sorry, I can't come get you. So I had to like crawl my way back into the rehab and be like, no one's coming to get me. Will you please take me back? And I think they put me on Suboxone because they were like, all right, she needs something.
Yeah. I was just
And so
gonna
I
ask
made it.
if they were a place that
Yeah.
gave the Subox.
I want to say they gave me something for like a couple days. And then at one point I was completely off everything. And I'll never forget like waking up and feeling like not sick and being not on anything. I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, like maybe this isn't so bad. Like maybe I can do this. And so at that was like the hope that I had. That's when I was finally like, all right, there's a chance. I'm gonna give this a try. Started taking it seriously, went to meetings, and then went to a halfway house, fucked that up, got kicked out, used again, went back home. And so this kind of went on this cycle of getting clean and relapsing, getting clean and relapsing. And it just got so much worse every time. I would be like not even high and miserable, be like, oh man, I know better. I shouldn't have done this. So fast forward, like everything got really, really, really bad, really, really fast. And I was using some pretty strong heroin. And was like, yeah, I think I'm about to overdose and die. Like if I do this anymore, I'm like, this is not good. So
Wait, hold on, time out real quick. How long do you think this timeline is from like when you are going to college the first year to like now where you're at in this story? Like, is this years? Is this months?
years. Yeah.
Mm.
So college. So from like 98 went to college. This is 2006.
Ooh. This
Yeah.
so the this
Oh
is
yeah.
the heroin epidemic time period
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah. It was bad, especially in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was really strong shit. So, and I had been like in and out of psych wards. For some reason, I was like, I reached out to my parents for help, and I was like, I think I'm gonna die if I keep doing this. And but I don't know how to stop. So they put me in a psych ward again, and I think I got on Suboxone, got back out, And I mean, that's how bad it was. It was like, I know I'm going to die, but I'm doing this anyway. I got back out, tried to do it again. And I think I got out by accident. They screwed up the paperwork. I got out of the psych ward by accident. And I was just out on the streets again, doing my thing. And I ended up calling my dad or talking to my dad. And he was like, Steph, please just come with me. Come to this place and get help. And everything in my body, mind, and soul was like, no. But I said, yeah, come get me. I was like, if you can guarantee they'll put me on Suboxone, you can come get me. And he's like, you got it.
Right.
You'll be on Suboxone. So I ended up, that's what I called my surrender date, which was December 11th of 2007. Not my clean date, but my surrender date, because that was the date that I accepted some form of help and finally was like, fuck it. I don't know what else to do. I'm done. I'm done running.
I can't do it on my own. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm done. Just tired, just so exhausted. And so he ended up taking me to it was a crisis unit for just people, alcoholics, runaways, people that were schizophrenic. So it wasn't a treatment center, but anyway, I was there. They put me on Suboxone. I was there for 30 days. And my parents came to visit me. And I had already been to meetings. I had already had a sponsor at the time. So I knew what I needed to do when I got out of there. And I actually did it. So I got out and went to meetings. I got a home group. I got a commitment, already had a sponsor. I was going to 2 meetings a day because I didn't have a job, didn't have anything else to do. And started working the steps with a sponsor and stayed on Suboxone for about 6 months and eventually just got off Suboxone. And that's what I consider my clean date now. It's like 6 months later. Yeah. I don't know the exact date, but.
Man, I wanted to ask you, you talked a lot about like the moments where you would sober up a little bit, like you would have those in between times of like, I'm not on anything. First they put me back on sub, versus I go back out and get high again. So you have a couple moments of clarity. Like what would hit you first and harder? Would it be the physical pain or like the emotional pain about thinking about the things that you did?
Oh, it was like the guilt and shame of like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this again. Because when you're clean, like on absolutely nothing, not even Suboxone, just like just absolutely nothing, you have a choice. You are free from the grips, you're free from the handcuffs, and you have a choice. You'd be like, I'm gonna choose not to get high. Right. And then as soon as you fucking use again, the choice is gone. That switch is flipped and you're just a slave to the drugs. Like it's just gone. And it's so hard to get that freedom back and get that choice back. And I feel like it got harder every time. It's like I gave up that freedom again. And it's just like such a hopeless place of like, am I ever going to get this right? It's like, I haven't done it by now and I just keep doing this. And it sounds cliche if you go to meetings, but like these people in these meetings, man, every meeting, like just keep coming back. Just keep coming back. I know you're high right now, but just keep coming back. We'll love you until you love yourself. And man, if they hadn't told me that, if they were like, get out of here, you're high, I'd be dead, Like it was that total unconditional love for the struggling addict that kept me coming back. And they were just full of hugs and love. And like after the meeting, they'd be like, you want to come hang out with us? I'd be like, no, I'm going to go get high. And they're like, all right, we'll just come back tomorrow. And they never shunned me. They never told me, don't come back. They were always there for me.
Yeah. Someone there to love you when you don't love yourself,
Yeah. And
I know your parents are there to do that, but like, it's like a different kind of thing. Cause like, you could almost feel like, okay, they're always going to love me. Like I don't know what
my parents, I took advantage of them totally,
Right.
That was so different. They just like enabled me.
And the people at the meetings, they don't put themselves in a position to be taken advantage of, that's what the whole point of like inpatient is, or being somewhere where like, okay, you need to be going through these steps, like we are here whenever you want us to be, we'll always be here, but like not to be abused,
Yeah.
So keep going with telling us about how you started to build back your own hope.
So I think, it was just a process of just becoming a different person, and doing a lot of work on myself. And, that's just what you have to do. You have to like go through some really intense shit and looking inward. And it's really, really painful and really, really uncomfortable, and reliving all that and like dissecting every single thing over and over and over again, and figuring out why you did it, and just all those painful moments and reliving it to become a better person, like figuring out who I wanted to be, who I didn't want to be. I knew who I didn't want to be anymore, but it's like I've been on a drug since I was 13. I don't know who I am. I know I don't want to be this bad person anymore, but I don't know. It was like starting over and finding out, like, my parents have values. They taught me how to be a good person. They taught me how to be responsible, productive member of society. So I was like figuring that out, like getting to be that person that I wanted to be, and learning how to be that person, and forgiving myself for all the things that I did, and just trying not to hold those things that I did within me. You have to let that go, and that's really tough. So I worked with a sponsor for years and years and years, and I went through the steps and did all that work, and I did them a couple times, and just got brutally honest. Like, honesty was not my thing. My thing was avoid reality, make up my own reality, and if I pretend it didn't happen, it didn't. So, like, getting brutally honest, and then getting more honest, because I still wasn't being honest. It was like some really deep shit. And, being able to like go through that with someone that you trust is an extremely like vulnerable position to be in. And not only that, it's like, I think it's probably more beneficial than a therapist. It's like extremely therapeutic to go through that with someone that's been there and done that, and isn't gonna just give you advice to give advice. It's all experience based. They're like, okay, well, this is what I did. Maybe that'll work for you. So,
Right.
And like going, I went to meetings religiously for many, many, many years. And I had an amazing group of women in my life. I had a really good network of women in my life, and them like sharing their experiences with me, and those bonds that we had were like, we were tight, and that kept me like, that was a huge, huge factor in my recovery, just having that network of women, and working through all that pain and all those experiences and all the lies, and that's what really gave me the hope to continue. And it was a really, really good time in my life. As painful as it was, there was so much freedom in it. It was like years and years of working on myself to become a better person, and become the best version of myself, and just try to do the next right thing every day.
Hell
And
yeah.
that's kind of what I do
Just
today.
thriving. I fucking love that, man. So where does fitness come into the story? Like, how do you find CrossFit?
I think after a few years of being clean, I was still smoking cigarettes. I quit smoking cigarettes. And I was like, I started doing, whatchamacallit, it was like Wii Fitness in the basement of my parents' house.
Yeah, buddy.
and like Zumba and like Just Dance and all that. And
You ever
this
see
is
the
fun.
Billy Blank's tapes? Bald black dude that did like the Tebow kickboxing shit. Everyone's like, "Oh, you can be the next Billy Banks." I'm like, that's not the compliment you think it is, but keep going.
Yeah, not quite. Yeah, so I was playing around with that, and I just liked exercising and moving, and I started bike riding. I was bike riding all over the place, and then I'm like, I think I'll join a gym. So I joined a gym down the street. Didn't know what I was doing, and so I hired a trainer. Like, you get a free consultation with a trainer, so I hired a personal trainer, and so he actually had me doing CrossFit without me knowing I was doing CrossFit. Like, I think he
Love
had
that.
me doing like the workouts of the day and stuff like that, which I had no idea. He was just giving me workouts to do. And man, I got in like really good shape. I was working out with him once a week and doing spinning. And that's all I was doing. And I was like ripped. I was like, okay, this is, and
Hell
I
yeah.
mean, he suggested I start like eating right, as I was eating trash. I was eating so bad. So I started eating right. He was like, yeah, go have some salmon and chicken. I was like, okay. So I started eating really healthy. And then eventually work. Oh, I had a friend. It was funny. A friend of mine was like, hey, do you want to try this CrossFit class with me? I was like, absolutely not. Like, I had all the misconceptions. I'm like, I don't want to die today. I'm good. And then
Meanwhile,
another
you've
friend
been
of
doing
mine.
it the whole time.
Yeah. Another friend of mine, like probably, I don't know, 12 months later, something like that. She asked me to hop in on a CrossFit workout with her, and I did it with her. And like, okay, that was cool. I could do that. So I started doing it then. And then I still don't think I knew it was CrossFit because I moved to Delaware for work and I joined another gym, same thing, hired a trainer. And it was like a gym, but there was also a CrossFit. It used to be called CrossFit Plexus and then CrossFit CR10, but the gym was just a regular gym. So you got a free consultation with the trainer, had him, and he was like, you should do CrossFit. You would really like it. And I was like, no, I don't want to get all big and bulky. That's literally what I said. I don't want to get big. Like the cliche thing that girls say.
He
I'm like,
said they're like, yo, well, are you gonna double your protein intake and then
right.
fucking lift for 2 hours every
Like,
day?
oh, here we
Like,
go. Another girl that doesn't want to get big.
right.
So the spinning, I was doing spinning. There was like a little spinning area, and I had to walk through the CrossFit gym to get to the spinning area. And I'd be like, I don't know. Hey, look, they're doing pull-ups and stuff. And he'd be like, you should just try it. Just try a class. So eventually I tried a class, instantly never looked back since then. And that was like 10 years ago.
Hell yeah.
So that was
You saw
pretty
him
much
do a
it.
butterfly pull-up, so you were like, yo, I want to do that. Oh, it's cool, right?
Yeah.
That's what everyone says, man. Yo, so I'm at CrossFit Westchester right now. You know, you do fundamentals, on-ramp programs for people, and like, what's the first thing everyone says? Like, I want to learn how to do a muscle up, right? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then I saw one of the maybe like second time I've seen it in my like 8-year time at CrossFit, a dude who did them on his first day. I was like, oh shit, okay. Like high five. You
All
know?
right. Yeah,
Oh man. Fucking CrossFit's crazy.
it is.
So you dove in and you just loved it right from the beginning. Did you like think like, damn, this is one of the things I was missing out on this whole time that I was getting high and at all my lows? Like I was such a big athlete before and now it's been gone.
Not really. I think it was just like, I don't know. I've always just kind of been like, I was really just taught like, it's the present. So I just try to stay in the present after all that,
I am where I
step
am.
work I did. Yeah, I am where I am and I'm grateful for where I'm at and just keep moving forward. And like, I could say like, I regret this, I regret that, but I believe with everything in my being that everything I've done got me to where I'm at today and made me who I am and, has built the character in me. So I refuse to like look back and say, what if this and what if that, because it's good. It's just not a good place. It's not a good mindset for me,
Right. You got to be where you are. You have to appreciate everything that you've been through before. If you let go of it, man, it's like that's cause to go backwards,
Oh yeah, for
which is
sure. Yeah.
one thing I'm always scared of. What was I just going to ask you? Did it ever come up before in your past, or did you ever think that one day you would be not just a coach, but like a leader, an example for other people?
No, it's funny because I had a long career in retail management, and one of my bosses, he's always like, you need to like, he was one of the best guys I've ever known. His name was Dominic, but he was my biggest cheerleader, and he got me promoted and he got me through all this stuff. And once I got promoted and everything, he's like, I would always talk to him like, I don't want to do this stupid store managers meeting. I don't want to go talk to people. I'm not a social person. I'm not this, I'm not that. And like, that's actually kind of where I started. That's where I learned my leadership skills, was in retail management, believe it or not. So, and a few years later, he's like, is this Stephanie I'm talking to? You're going to all these meetings and you're like the quote of the day person at these meetings and you do these presentations. So it kind of like, that was never a thing. I was not that person. And I kind of learned how to be through those experiences in retail, and also NA meetings, like sharing my experience like that, getting up in front of a bunch of people and that public speaking, that got me over the fear of that. So yeah, all those things kind of brought me here.
You weren't born one. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Steph, this has been a great episode. My last question at the end of this, I think sometimes people give a great answer to this, and I'm like, well, I want to keep talking. My last question.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
No, you're totally fine. You're gonna know what I'm talking about once I say it. Is like, what are you hungry for next? Like, what do you want to do? What's motivated you right now?
Oh, the games for sure. I want to, like, those 5 spots were killing me. I want to make it to semifinals so bad, and then go to the games. I'm so close.
Okay, so a quick mini question on top of that, like I already knew kind of. Do you want to see a semifinal games continue, or do you want to go in person for that next step?
I would love to be in person. I am a different athlete in person. I'm not a huge fan of the online. I've done, like the MFC. It's so much different when you're out there racing someone and you can see where you're
100%.
at. It's like such a different environment. Online, you just don't know. You're just like, I don't know. I have no one to race. The atmosphere is so much different. I love the in person.
You get ahead of somebody in person, you're like, I want to stay ahead of you.
Yeah, totally. And it's like a class environment. You're working out with other people. You're going to push so much harder. You're by yourself. You're just doing the best you think that you can and going as hard as you can. You have no one to gauge off of. So big fan of in person.
That's the only way to do it. Well, I'm going to kind of keep my promise. Guys, it's been a great episode. This has been Steph McConnell, because I don't believe I can say your last name. I'm terrible with last name.
Either way.
That's my fun factor for everybody. Steph, thanks so much for coming on. Dogs out there, peace.